Retomamos la jornada. La Unión Europea está dando pasos muy importantes hacia la regulación de la protección del suelo. Ejemplo de ello son la publicación de la Estrategia Europea de Protección del Suelo 2030 y de la propuesta de directiva para la vigilancia y la resiliencia del suelo. El objetivo de la siguiente mesa redonda será analizar las implicaciones de estos dos documentos desde la perspectiva de las diferentes escalas, la europea, la de los Estados y la de las regiones. Para ello, contamos con la presencia de Codescu, jefe de unidad de la Dirección General del Medio Ambiente de la Comisión Europea, Alexander Boto Bastegieta, director general de Ihobe, Sociedad Pública de Gestión Ambiental del Gobierno Vasco, Esther, asesora de la Dirección de Protección del Suelo del Servicio Público de Valonia, y Antonio Callaba, de la Subdirección General de Residuos del Ministerio para la Transición Ecológica y el Reto Demográfico del Gobierno de España. Moderará esta mesa Dietmar Müller-Grabherr, secretario del Foro Común en Suelos Contaminados de Europa.
Thank you. Welcome also from my side. I'm really happy to see you back in the room, and I'm really happy to stay with this panel because it's the first time since we received the proposal by the European Commission since July, the first time that we sit together and exchange. And you're part of the story, and we try to make evident that Europe is something which is really crossing scales. So it's really the continent, but it goes down to the member state, it goes down to the regions, it goes down to our homes, as we learned in the morning. In opening the session, I would invite the panelists, simply to come forward with your views and perspectives. So what are the new key contributions? We have a new policy frame, the soil strategy, coming in 21. And now as a part within the soil strategy, we even received a proposal for a new joint legislative frame. Keep in mind, policy is broader than legislation, but legislation is important. And I would like to challenge you and know your views, bring your views to the audience. What will be the key contributions in the mid and long run to have healthy soils? Jon, obviously, you are in the driver's seat, so you would be the one to start off, please.
Thanks a lot, Dietmar. Thanks for the invitation and for the wonderful organization of the event. I'm very impressed with the interest attached to soil. Thank you for the presentation to Professor Alberto Santana. Very, very interesting as well. I think we all share here the importance of soil for what we are doing. I think all activities that we are undertaking are in one way or another directly or indirectly connected with the soil. And we have a big issue with the soil. You mentioned, Dietmar, the strategy of 2021. That's not the first one. So the European Union has started to look at the soil for a long time. And we've been able to trace a bit the trends and the situation and the condition of the soil. And the soil is not in a good condition. We've looked, and I think Natalia mentioned earlier, this soil observatory that was put together by our joint research center in the European Commission, obviously based on the data that it's gathered from the member states, but also at EU level. We are also monitoring a bit what is happening there. We have about 70,000 monitoring points. I think 40,000 are coming from the Commission through Lucas Soil. Other part comes from the member states. So we have the broad brush view of what is happening. And to put the long story short, 60–70% of the soils are not in good condition, and the trends and the outlook in general are not good. We have issues with a lot of types of degradation. So we have mapped out what's the situation. We have also obviously various conditions and various soils at the level of the EU. But we have issues with the erosion of soils. We have issues with the desertification, acidification. losing the capacity of soil to retain water. We also have big issues with the land take. Of course, we need the land also to seal it for development and so on. I think here in Basque Country, you are in a good position to see a bit the challenges there for the various the various land uses because of the limited space that you have. And we have been presented also by a guide the way the Bilbao has been developed in the last year. So that was at the core of it. We have issues with the contamination of soil as well, which has an impact on public health and also on environment. So we have mapped out all these degradations, and we have tried to come up with this proposal, which is an important or a key initiative in the context of the soil strategy. So we have made a proposal on a directive to monitor the soil, but also to be able to intervene for sustainable soil management, where we have also unhealthy soils, also to be able to restore them as much as possible to a healthy status, and also deal with the specific issues of contaminated sites, of which we have up to 3 million across the EU. These are soils that could be given a better use, of course, and if not managed, also they have an impact on public health. So what we put in place, without entering more into the details at this stage, tries to deal with this. Why the EU? Probably that's a question in many minds at this stage. Well, soil, it's probably the only area that it's not regulated at EU level. We don't have an ambitious as such standalone, to regulate it as well. But we see that despite many types of actions, in some corners of the EU more, in some other corners probably not at all, we don't know a lot about the condition of soils. We don't know a lot about what can be done to improve them. And most of all, as I said, the situation is not improving. So we don't want to regulate everything. This proposal probably will be able to touch on this, and we are discussing this with the Council, with the Parliament. So it provides a lot of flexibility for the national authorities, for the regional authorities, for the local authorities, but we would like to give an impetus to deal with soil as it deserves. So by 2050, we reach this objective of healthy soils. Thank you.
Thank you, Jon. So I heard the word impetus, and that comes down to the regions where it needs to get practical. Alex, from your view.
Desde el punto de vista del ámbito más regional, yo creo que hemos podido comprobar con la presentación de Alberto de un punto cómo ha ido evolucionando el suelo, y desde el punto de vista de la Comisión Europea, las dificultades que tiene gestionar este recurso natural. La reflexión que yo me hago es por qué la Comisión Europea ha tardado. Ha regulado el aire, ha regulado el agua, el medio ambiente desde el punto de vista regional hemos seguido siempre a la Comisión Europea, a las directivas, etcétera, pero sin embargo con la protección del suelo hasta el año 2021 no hemos conseguido tener una estrategia europea de protección del suelo. ¿Y por qué este ámbito es tan difícil? Por la complejidad que yo creo que nos ha representado muy bien en la ponencia de Alberto, que tocamos muchos factores, tocamos la propiedad privada, tocamos ámbitos económicos, culturales, tocamos el medio ambiente, agua, biodiversidad, bueno, toca muchos aspectos. Y yo creo que necesitábamos que la Comisión Europea nos pusiese esta estrategia general, pero las dificultades van a ser enormes por lo que, como ha comentado Jon, medir. Yo siempre suelo decir que hay dos aspectos que es muy difícil medir, y es la biodiversidad y el suelo. Estos dos son muy difíciles de medir, tener objetivos, tener indicadores, y yo creo que estamos avanzando bien, pero es un gran reto para la Comisión Europea el intentar poner un paraguas para todos los territorios que son tan heterogéneos y con historias en el siglo XX de suelos contaminados, 3 millones de suelos potencialmente contaminados en Europa, como comentaba John. Esto, independientemente de otros aspectos de erosión, artificialización, estamos todos en el mismo barco. Es muy importante que protejamos el suelo y el reto es enorme. Yo creo que necesitamos que la Comisión Europea nos vaya poniendo el camino a seguir.
Very good, Alex. So I heard this thing about complexity, and Esther, you're the person, you're wearing two hats, I would say, your region and your country. You're representing the Walloon region and Belgium. So from the Belgium and Walloon perspective, how will you deal with the complexity, and will the new policy frame help you?
So that's for sure that soil is a complex compartment. And actually, there was already some strategy back in 2006, and that was already triggering lots of actions. But, okay, it didn't come up with a legal framework, but now it is the case, at least it's on the table. And what I would say is that the complexity of the soil has been better handled in the new strategy. What I mean is that we always only focused on soil degradation. It's like the negative side of the story. But now we are getting more towards ecosystem services and soil as a solution for all different challenges: climate, water management, biodiversity, health, people, human health, and so many different aspects. So this complexity somehow needs to be put together in an integrated vision, and this is a hard part of the story. And I think that the new strategy really is able to bring that integrated approach, while recognizing also that soil is at the intersection of so many different other strategies that were put on the table with the Green Deal that was started in 2019. And so now soil has found its place like in between all those strategies. And this is the missing puzzle part, and it is put there, and I think that's the good approach to do it, recognizing that it is interlinked. And for now, the strategy is, okay, is right in the picture. Now there is that missing part, the legislative one. And at the national level, but even at the regional level, we are, using European legislation, and we know that soil is handled in that part, in that part, in that part as well. And each different legislation has its own objective, without an integrated vision for soil health. And so I think the great now challenge will be to maintain that integrated approach, to do it concretely, because it's not only talking about soil health, but how do you measure it concretely? And so the proposal brings that on the table. It is challenging, because variability of soils, through all the regions, but the flexibility is given to try to handle that at our different levels, be it national or regional. But we will see through the discussions where it goes to.
Thanks, Esther. Antonio, finally up to you. So back to Madrid, here in the room. How do you see what will be the key contributions and how to get them down here in Spain?
Gracias, Dietmar. Bueno, primero de todo, agradecer sinceramente a la Comisión lo valiente que ha sido echándose a la piscina. Y un poco, yo creo que el papel de los Estados miembros es, en esta fase, pues, darle un poco de leña al mono. Pero no con un afán entorpecedor, sino con un afán de que esa directiva sea lo más clara posible. Entonces, en España, tal y como yo lo veo, hay dos tiempos a cubrir de ahora en adelante. En un primer momento, lo que vamos a tener que hacer cuando se apruebe la directiva, si finalmente y felizmente se aprueba esa directiva. Vamos a tener que transponerla al derecho interno. Eso va a ser muy complejo, muy complejo, porque es labor en la que tienen que intervenir, no ya solo porque es muy amplia, como han comentado previamente mis contertulios, no es labor de una única dirección general, de un único departamento, sino incluso que trasciende a varios ministerios y transponer eso, ya veremos si en una sola pieza legislativa o en varias piezas legislativas, pues va a tener, en fin, su miguita. Va a ser complicado. En fin, casi prefiero no pensar cómo van a ser los próximos 2 o 3 años para mí. Y en una segunda etapa, yo diría que la propuesta de directiva que ha puesto encima de la mesa ahora la Comisión es parte, pero no es la totalidad, es una parte de la estrategia temática de protección del suelo, pero no es la totalidad. Y el reto, tal y como yo lo veo, es aprovechando o paralelamente a la transposición en piezas legales, en piezas escritas negro sobre blanco, recoger algunos de los elementos interesantes que estaban contenidos, algunos de los elementos concretos e interesantes que estaban contenidos en la estrategia, que ya veremos cómo lo vamos incorporando poco a poco y que, bueno, esas son las condiciones de contorno en el que se mueven las iniciativas políticas, se han caído en el camino, pero que intentaremos recuperar de alguna manera. Esa es la visión que yo tengo en los próximos 3 o 4 años.
Okay, may I go on here and I'll come back to you, Antonio, simply then. When you have transposed it to national legislation, you will need to implement all Spain. Where do you see the biggest challenges in the implementation then, to make it work, to make it operational?
Well, perdón. El problema sustancial es que estamos abordando procesos de... Me quedo con la parte negativa. No me olvido de la parte buena del suelo, pero estamos tratando de abordar desde el punto de vista legislativo procesos que operan a una escala muy diferente, procesos que operan a escala estrictamente local, como es el caso de la contaminación, a escala regional incluso, como puede ser el caso de erosión o pérdida de materia orgánica. Entonces, tratar de que coexistan en la misma pieza o en piezas legislativas que no deben deben más o menos correr en paralelo, que coexista un abordaje coherente a todos esos aspectos es complicado. Eso yo creo que es en definitiva y en corto a tu pregunta. El principal reto que tenemos es que no nos vaya demasiado rápido una de las patas de la legislación o de lo que está contenido en la estrategia de protección del suelo y otras se nos queden muy retrasadas, que todas deberían ir más o menos a la misma velocidad y con una cierta coherencia entre ellas.
Esther, would you be able to add on from the Belgish view?
Yeah, so you might know that in Belgium we love to have different layers of administrations and of politicians. So when you talk about soil, which is linked to environment resource, then it has to be dealt at the regional level. So the national level is leaving the hand more or less to the regional level. And so when you go to the different region, in each region, what you have is different administrations in charge of one part of the topic. So maybe agricultural land, forest land, urban land, land planning. So that shows that you have very different types of actors, and the challenge is to be able to put everybody on the same line and to all speak the same language. And for now, I mean, we already have some soil management programs for different types of land use, but now the challenge is to put all that together. And yeah, maybe for agricultural soils, we really well know carbon and erosion, but we don't know so much about compaction or diffuse pollution. So, I mean, the work that has been done is not yet fitting the integrated vision or the soil health concept. So there will be effort to put everybody online and knowing that there are existing systems that we need to cope with, so we shouldn't be disturbing that too much, but rather trying to put that at a new, higher level. And I can agree with my colleague, because I think we need to do it gradually, because it's a big piece. It's a big piece to digest, and it's linked also to economy, soil property, lots of sometimes tensions and social tensions as well. And land take is a big one. It's a big trigger because this is the worst degradation that we have. We are just having soil disappearing. And so this has to be handled in a proper way. And I would say gradually and in coordination. But I guess the elements are there, so we need to work on it. And yeah, the 2 or 3 years might be a good discussion time, I would say.
Thanks, Esther. So to the land take issue, we will come for sure back later. So, but first, Alex, reflections from the Basque Country.
Comparto mucho de lo que se ha comentado, muchas dificultades para gestionar este recurso natural. Y desde las administraciones, empezando desde la Europa, ¿cómo gestionamos este recurso que tiene unos objetivos, cuando se habla de alcanzar unos suelos saludables, healthy soils? What is that? Degradación neta cero, zero net soil degradation. Ocupación neta cero, objetivos que nos ponemos, son conceptos difusos que no nos marcan una definición clara de la protección del suelo. Pongo un ejemplo. Suelos contaminados, entre comillas, huérfanos, es decir, que de la herencia que comentaba antes el viceconsejero, de la herencia industrial, tenemos muchos suelos contaminados del pasado que en estos momentos tenemos que gestionarlos. No existía legislación de estos temas. Podríamos hacer, como decía el profesor, los hemos gestionado mal, cortarles las orejas a los niños que cuidaban mal. Bueno, pues tenemos una herencia del pasado que la tenemos que gestionar. Y ahí tenemos que ir desde la colaboración, entiendo yo, público-privada, para abordar estos retos que tenemos con muchos suelos contaminados, huérfanos, entre comillas, jurídicamente huérfanos. Bueno, pues eso es lo que tendríamos que ver, cómo lo abordamos desde Europa y desde las regiones o desde las entidades más locales. Todo un reto, vamos.
Thank you. So, coming at the end to you, Jon, I first would take up what Antonio expressed, so the congratulations. I think all the people here at the panel did, and invite the audience. Jon and his team brought it forward, so they deserve an applause, I would say, right now. But still, there are critical moments. You're also involved to the starting political process. Where do you feel or taste the key challenges from your side?
Yeah, thanks for the question, also for the applauses. But I think, yeah, that was indeed our team, but it's the result of a bigger team, because I think Antonio mentioned that we have the courage to come discuss about it, but it's not a blind courage. It's based on a lot of analysis. As you know, when we propose legislation, we do thorough impact assessments, so this is what we've done, but we also had a lot of public consultation. I think many authorities, but also stakeholders, came to us and we discussed with farmers, we discussed with foresters, we discussed with NGOs, with authorities and so on. So what we put together is these results. Now that's a major difficulty. It's like putting together the pieces of a very complex puzzle. Regulating the soil and managing the soil is not easy. It's a lot that is being done in the various countries across the EU. Well, take the contamination of soils. It's not something which is being done, since yesterday. It's something there. So, and we also want to build on what's there. We don't want to replace. We want to improve so that we achieve this objective of having healthy soils. We have also agricultural practices. Obviously, they have a big impact on soil. In this proposal that we make, we are not only focusing on agricultural soils, but also on forestry, also on urban land, so all soils. But of course, agriculture is an important piece, and a lot has been done there, so we need to take this into account. So that's one of the major difficulties. When it comes to the immediate steps, of course, as you know, well, that's a proposal for a directive, but it's only a proposal. The Commission cannot adopt legislation, has the initiative right, so we can put it on the table, and from that moment, the institutions are coming to work on this, and at this moment, as Dietmar mentioned, we have discussions in the Council of Ministers, so all member states are there represented, and also a parallel track with the European Parliament. So we'll take it article by article, but also impact assessment, cost benefits analysis, and we'll go through a very painful, but also necessary and important process to be able to adopt something. So before transposition, before implementation, we would need to go through this process. And well, I'll put something there. Well, you know, it's not the first time we are proposing legislation on this. There was another attempt in, I think, 15, 16 years ago, which didn't work. Also because one of the reasons was this complexity. Now we are confident, although you didn't ask the question about it, why this time it would pass. We see more and more awareness, and I think this conference testifies for the fact that we become more aware of the fact that soil is extremely important, is not faring well, and we need to do something and something more if we want to revert this situation. And also we see also the impact of climate change, even here, the temperatures and so on. We see flooding, we see fires, and so on, and they have an impact on soil, and unmanaged or soil that is not managed well, which is not in a healthy condition, has an amplifying effect on this. Maybe one thing that I would want to leave with you, I think obviously by benefits of the trade that I mean, I'm traveling a bit, but I think each of us are traveling. And I think we all realize that when we go to especially a big another city across the EU, we can drink water from the tap. And that's, one of the results of having some European legislation in place with certain conditions that this water should be wholesome and drinkable. I think we can do the same, and we have other examples as well, of course, for waste, for air quality. It's a lot more that we need to put in place. But I think this is a good example which should give us the longer perspective. We are able to do something if we work together. Of course, the Commission cannot deal with this alone, so we need inputs from various levels, from various experiences. That's why we are also here today, and we've been yesterday in the Common Forum, to be able to take all in and be able to put something on the table.
May I add a question? So simply as a reminder for us all, you set out the objectives, the key objectives with the proposal for the directive. Could you remind us?
So the key pillars of the directive, and maybe I should add something, this is not only about legislative proposals, it's much more, I think Esther mentioned earlier, but when it comes to this, the main pillars of it is to improve the knowledge of the soil. We know something, but not enough to be able to intervene and repair, if you want, to restore soils or manage them properly. So there we have come with a proposal to put in place a coherent monitoring network, something where we take into account also the costs. We don't want to make it burdensome. We want to build on what is there. In some member states, soil monitoring is going on, but we want to put something which would give us the necessary picture, the minimal picture, to be able to intervene. And we have a certain timeline. I think somebody mentioned that, well, that's a challenge in itself. That's true. So that's one piece of the puzzle. That's why, and it's a critical step, the first step, which would take the rest of the decade. It's not an easy step, but it is critical to improve knowledge. So that's why we have the name of the directive on monitoring soils, but also resilience. And this brings me to the other pillars. Another one is, well, once we come to an assessment of all soils, we'll be able to say, well, what we should be done, for example, we should be doing on restoring the soils which are in healthy condition, and maybe continue some good practices on the soils which are in good condition to keep, or healthy, to keep them like this. So sustainable soil management, restoration of soils, make part of another pillar. There we gave a lot of flexibility also to be able to take into account the results of the monitoring and assessment of soils. In the future, we may come up with more binding targets and objectives, but at this point, our focus is, as I said, in this decade on improving the knowledge. The third part, it's more specific, but still integrated organically in the proposal, is about contaminated sites. I mentioned we have a high number. We have also a lot of experience in many member states, and we want to make sure that, you know, a process is set in motion so that we do once for all with this with these sites. Many of them are there for decades. They have impacts. None of us, I think, we want to build or get food from such potentially hazardous sites. So we need to identify them, we need to investigate, and we also need to treat them. We don't come with measures as such. We leave this to the national authorities. We want to make sure that everywhere across Europe, unacceptable risk, what is considered to be unacceptable risk for public health, for environment, is dealt with. How? For the moment, we leave it to in the hands of the authorities. And then we also have this governance pillar, how to put in place all the system, how to discuss, and I think Antonio mentioned, and also Esther, and also Alex, that it's important to sit together and also work on this, even if, let's say, the directive is adopted. We'll still need a lot of maybe implementing acts, maybe guidelines, maybe spread of best practice between us.
Thanks. Alex, listening to it and then hearing that we want to improve soil knowledge, how will you address it, and in particular in terms of soil monitoring? Do you think the directive is explicit enough and will help to create new soil knowledge?
Okay, voy a comentar la parte de monitorización del suelo y luego un aspecto que ha comentado John de análisis de coste-beneficio que también creo que es muy interesante. Desde el Gobierno vasco llevamos monitorizando la parte de contaminación del suelo, que quizás es la más fácil, más de 20 años que tenemos un sistema de monitorización. No es fácil porque trabajamos, como también señalaba la representante de la FAO, trabajamos con diferentes departamentos y diferentes especialidades, desde ordenación del territorio, salud, transportes. Hay muchos organismos que están involucrados en una monitorización y estamos avanzando. Incluso estamos pensando en terminar que el sistema de calidad de monitorización de la calidad del suelo del Gobierno vasco en algún momento pueda ser como un observatorio de la calidad del suelo. Es de una complejidad importante, pero yo creo que es lo que nos están marcando desde la Comisión Europea. No sé cuáles van a ser los estándares mínimos para que podamos luego compararnos, porque una de las grandes dificultades va a estar en la comparación de algo tan sencillo como suelo potencialmente contaminado, qué significa en cada uno de para poder uniformizar los conceptos que Europa nos señala, ¿no? Y la segunda reflexión, o sea, la primera, la de monitorización, estamos avanzando y yo creo que Euskadi lo está siendo referencia, pero tenemos grandes complejidades y grandes retos. Y la segunda es en el tema del análisis de coste-beneficio. Incorporar la variable económica pues es muy importante para todo lo que es la remediación o el saneamiento de suelos, pero claro, ¿cómo se hace un análisis coste-beneficio? Los que venimos de la economía ambiental no es fácil incorporar esta variable, hasta cuánto tienes que recuperar un suelo y a un coste que puedas asimilarlo, ¿no? Ese yo creo que va a ser una de las grandes claves de cómo incorporamos esta herramienta de análisis coste-beneficio en un cambio de usos del suelo que se ha visto que en la historia se van produciendo, pero también vemos la importancia de proteger este recurso. Entonces, ese equilibrio entre recuperación a un coste que podamos asumir y que pueda ser razonable, yo creo que va a ser uno de los grandes retos a medio plazo. ¿Cómo incorporamos la variable económica en la política de protección del suelo?
Very good. So, Esther, from Walloon region perspective, you're always kind of forefront running, I would say, to address different challenges in soil care. How will you deal with it now with this new framing? What is the first anticipation?
So, what at least is put in the proposal gives still the provisions gives still clear steps of what is expected and what are like the soil descriptors. I mean, they are listed and some of them are really set at the European level, some others should be set at the member states level or regional level when the competency goes down to that level. So I mean, the provisions are there, so the path is stepped, but now maybe some time clarification must be done because it's a new approach, like soil district, that's a tricky one. So we need to see what is the good level or how to design such soil district in which we need to monitor soil health. So that's a tricky question. Also, I mean, the design of the monitoring, it is very clearly put in the directive. Now maybe we should see if it's aligned or complementary to existing system, and this comes to the cost question, because if you can like recycle your existing system in the new system, then the costs are lowered, of course. So that will be the matter of discussion to try to reduce the cost, especially if I think you should keep in mind that the cost of the monitoring should be kept at a level, but not to impair the cost for management of the soil itself and restoration or even prevention. So usually when you talk to scientists and researchers, they always need new knowledge, so that's fine. I mean, we need to evolve, but we should be sure that all the money doesn't go only to monitoring of soil. So that is a balance that we should be finding to really have an effective spending of the money that we will dedicate to that. And I think also that further discussion will be needed to detail a bit more some technical issues. I mean, like sampling depth. This is not put now in the text, but it has a huge impact on what is your interpretation of the soil health. And also legal analysis will be helped as well, because as soon as you are handling data and you want to manage that, then it comes to, okay, what is the resolution of the thing? What is the level of transparency we can put on data, especially if you are going in private properties and having an idea of the soil health. So those are the questions that will be needed to be further discussed, I guess, either through guidelines or groups as comitology, but I guess there is room for that. So I would say this is part of the soil monitoring challenge. And beyond soil description, there is that idea of that you need to assess soil health as such. And there is that big principle in the directive, which is one out, all out. So that means if you are analyzing your soil and there is one descriptor which is not fitting the right range, let's say, that has been described, then that means, okay, you need to trigger it. But maybe there we will need a bit more site-specific assessment, because we know that we can do really good maps of all characteristics. I mean, we have seen some maps this morning that were shown, but we should be keeping in mind that those are estimation. There are uncertainties, so at a certain level, you need to go deeper in that. So the one out, all out principle must, I guess, be accompanied by a tiered approach, sort of, to dig deeper in the subject and to be really relevant and proportionate to the handling of the real problem that has been identified. So that will be also the challenge after the monitoring part, I would say.
Thanks, Esther. A lot to learn, it sounds like. Antonio, hearing the contributions from Alex and Esther, would you like to, well, come in with your reaction? As for soil monitoring, would you be satisfied with the soil descriptors, with the concept of soil health, whatever?
A ver, tal y como yo lo veo, el sistema de vigilancia que está proponiendo la Comisión abarca, o los descriptores en los que está fundamentado, abarca, yo diría que la práctica totalidad de los fenómenos de degradación que debemos controlar para ir hacia un horizonte de suelos sanos, ¿no? Y es una jugada muy inteligente. Se me ha olvidado antes, hay que darle un poco de jabón a la Comisión de vez en cuando. A veces hay que darles palos, pero a veces un poco de jabón. Es una jugada muy inteligente de la Comisión el haber cambiado la orientación, y lo ha mencionado nuestro colega de la Comisión esta mañana, desde la perspectiva del intento anterior de directiva, una perspectiva tal vez más humilde, de solo conocimiento, y dentro de 10, 15 años empezaremos a tomar acciones concretas. Bueno, podemos ir entre tanto haciendo cositas, obviamente. Pero, perdona, para no desviarme del asunto, yo no he hecho en falta nada, o sea, particularmente no he hecho en falta nada. Estoy mentalmente examinando cuál sería la situación de España a nivel nacional. Yo sé que las comunidades autónomas, no todas, pero algunas tienen sistemas de vigilancia complementarios. A nivel nacional tenemos, yo creo que un razonable control en relación a la contaminación del suelo, incluso la difusa, diría yo, a pesar de que esa figura no existe en la legislación española. Tenemos un buen soporte científico para montar ese sistema de vigilancia en relación a la erosión. No tenemos que olvidarnos que España, como miembro consignatario del convenio de lucha contra la desertificación, hace ya muchos años se comprometió a tener conocimiento directo, y me consta, los tengo en mi despacho, todos los libros por provincias del estado de erosión. Está prácticamente concluido ese trabajo. Y también tenemos algún punto fuerte en pérdida de materia orgánica de suelo, en el contenido de materia orgánica de suelo y la evolución temporal de la materia orgánica de suelo a escala nacional. Esos yo creo que son nuestros puntos fuertes en este momento. Hay todavía algunas cuestiones difícilmente mensurables, pero que tampoco han sido abordadas probablemente por su dificultad, porque no hay ni siquiera acuerdo científico en cómo medir. Estoy pensando en temas relativos a la biodiversidad, o estoy pensando en temas relativos a compactación de suelos, o incluso algunos otros que no es que ya tengan problemas de índole técnica o científica a su medida, sino que tienen problemas de verdadera índole política, como es el tema del sellado de suelos, o land take, como se menciona en la directiva. Esa es lo que te puedo decir que vemos desde el Ministerio de Medio Ambiente.
Thanks. So we leave now maybe the area of complexity, I would say. So we need more and more knowledge. That's agreed in here. But there is something obvious out there also maybe. That's land consumption. And it's addressed in the strategy. It's also in the directive. And the basic question to discuss is how to come to no net land take. What is it? How to deal with? What are the biggest challenges? And what do you think about the soil land take hierarchy? And here, of course, I would like to start with the regions to collect your views. Esther.
Okay. So land take is a big challenge. We haven't been stopped to expand around cities, and in Belgium it's mainly at the expense of the agricultural land. So this is a main challenge when you consider food production capability of regions to achieve that. So now, I mean, in the directive, what we see is a first step, because there is no objective in the directive. The objectives are already set in other strategies, let's say, the non-net land take strategy. But in the directive, what is there is try to at least have the same data through Europe. So coming up with common definitions, coming up with ways of monitoring that with the help of remote sensing techniques. And so I think that it is exactly what we were already discussing in Belgium, because the different regions have programs to try to contain land take. But the first thing is really to have good data, to monitor when there is a real land change, and also not only keep the situation at the land use level, land use change level, but also the soil quality and the provision of the different function that can be impaired, even in some places where the land use would be good enough. So there is the dimension, the horizontal dimension of a land change, but also the third dimension of keeping as much function as possible from the soils, like what in our typology, or of land take typology in Belgium. I mean, gardens, they are artificial lands, actually. But they provide lots of services because they are not sealed. So the tricky thing is really to put the right place of land use change and sealing. And there is no yet definition of soil sealing in the proposal, but I guess that should be worked out, and that could be also aligned with already previous exercises that were done at the European level, because there are some good initiatives and there are guidelines as well. So, I mean, the step is really to know what you are talking about, and then after you go to the political one, which is how to cope with that expansion. And this, I understand, I guess, that why the proposal doesn't go that far, because there you get all the countries leaving the flag subsidiarity. Land planning is a very high subsidiarity topic, so you need to find the right place to put land take in such a proposal, legal proposal. But at least the ground must be the good one, so the monitoring part, we should ensure this is consistent, and then after it's left to the national or regional level, given the competencies to handle then how to cope with the program, having in mind no net land take objective by 2050. So, yeah.
Well, what I heard from Esther, Alex, is simply that my hypothesis, it's a simple problem, is wrong, so we are back to complexity. So what is it from the Basque perspective?
Para un pequeño país como el nuestro, la no ocupación del suelo es esencial. Como recurso y tenemos escasez de suelo. Entonces, no ocupar suelo y reutilización de suelos vacantes yo creo que son dos claves en esta política de no ocupación del suelo. Y voy a, no sé si voy a poner bien, voy a explicar dos iniciativas del Gobierno de diferentes compañeros de otros organismos, pero que creo que son políticas acertadas. La primera es lo que está haciendo la agencia SOILUR, que está recuperando suelos, porque podría intentar ocupar suelos que no estén, digamos, artificializados para sus proyectos de industrialización. Y, sin embargo, la política que llevan desde su inicio es reutilización de suelos ya antropizados, ya degradados o que se hayan sido abandonados. Yo creo que es una muy buena iniciativa el que mucho más fácil es ir a suelos vírgenes, pero yo creo que la SOILUR está haciendo un esfuerzo importante por recuperar y por instalarse en suelos ya industriales abandonados. Y la segunda iniciativa, que yo creo que también es como Gobierno, la parte del Departamento de Ordenación del Territorio, llevamos muchos años con unas directrices de ordenación del territorio, lo que es desde el punto de vista de intentar ordenar cuáles son los usos del suelo en nuestro territorio, y es complejo porque hay que buscar diferentes equilibrios. Y eso es, yo creo que, pero el tener unas directrices de ordenación del territorio y el papel de los municipios, en los cuales algunos ya están intentando limitar, perdón, el instrumento de las directrices de ordenación del territorio lo que nos dice es que durante los últimos años en Euskadi prácticamente se mantiene estable, creo que es un 7%, el nivel de artificialización del suelo. Yo creo que eso es una política de éxito, el que podamos contener ese nivel de artificialización. Y luego un papel fundamental lo juegan los municipios, también viendo cómo pueden ocupar, o desde el urbanismo, cómo están haciendo para no extender la artificialización o lo que se llama suelo urbanizable a nivel del urbanismo. Yo creo que son dos políticas que están dando sus funciones en esta no ocupación o protección de los diferentes usos del suelo.
Thanks, Alex. So I'm also in the role of keeping the time management, and so it comes down to the final question, and the final question, an invite for a comment, is to you, Jon. So the final question from my side would be two small questions. What are your basic take-home messages you received in here? And what are your next steps in the approval process, just to make us aware what will happen during the next 1 to 6 months?
Well, I think the two aspects or the two questions are very much connected. So, of course, as I already explained, the Commission put the proposal on the table, and my role here, as I saw it, was to explain a bit, and also the other day, to explain a bit, what we had in mind when we presented this piece of legislation. Of course, a lot of technical details will be discussed. I think we all agreed here in this panel. It's a very complex and difficult issue. So that's one take-home point, that we need to take into account all these points. Maybe one, just to leave you with the metaphor, it's like trying to travel between two distant points, and we need a vehicle for that. Well, some might want to travel with a limousine, others with a sports car. What we want is a functional vehicle for that. that could bring us to a maybe midpoint, and from that point on, see and maybe improve things. So we've been really measured and proportionate in what we put on the table. We fully agree. Maybe there are aspects that could be improved also in the the discussions with the member states, also with the Parliament. So as our commissioner said, we'll play the role of an honest broker. We think that if we manage to put in place something which is, as I was saying, functional, it would make a breakthrough. And I made the parallel or the connection with what happened with the wastewater, maybe with the drinking water as well, after well, it took years, but now we have, we enjoy certain standards in the EU which are directly related not only to environment but also to our health. So we think it's an important, critical piece of the puzzle. It's not the only one, and this is what I would like to add as well. The strategy, the 2021, which builds indeed, as Esther reminded us, on a previous strategy on soil. Well, there are other actions there, and it's about financing. It's a lot about awareness raising. I didn't mention it, but we have provisions that we propose in this initiative to spur, the awareness raising, advisory services, for example, for farmers and so on, which are critical. My point is that if we manage to have such a piece of legislation at EU level, this would improve awareness, that would improve also the financing. So we think it would make a major breakthrough. That's why we'll put our effort, all our effort, we'll continue on this process with the view to make sure that even if we make, and we need compromises, we need changes here or there, we have at the end of the day something which is functional and is able to lead us where we want to be. Well, and we have this goal, 2050 healthy soils.
Thanks, Jon. Functional vehicle. I would add on that we have this window of opportunity. You created it, and I would encourage everyone here to keep on in cooperation for it in all your efforts. And by that, also thank you for agreeing to be part of the roundtable and sharing your views to the audience. And thanks to our panelists.
Jon, Alexander, Esther, Antonio, muchas gracias. A partir de este momento les invitamos a participar en las mesas de retos, que se celebrarán de forma paralela en diferentes salas de este palacio. En los paneles informativos podrán ver en qué sala se celebra la mesa que hayan seleccionado en el momento de su inscripción. Cuando terminen, les vamos a esperar en el hall para el almuerzo y al finalizar se llevarán a cabo las visitas guiadas que partirán desde el exterior del palacio. Muchísimas gracias.